And then I'll just go ahead and go live. Let's see here. Hello, everybody joining us. Okay, here we go. All right, if you guys want to share to your pages, please do that now. Saying hello to everyone joining us for our, hello everybody joining us. All right, if you guys want to share to your pages, please do that now. All right, welcome everyone. This is our third Facebook Live panel chat. And today we are diving into the topic of empowerment. And we were just talking a little bit before we hopped on, and we all in the process of preparing, asking ourselves the questions that I'm going to be asking today, came to some interesting insights about our own empowerment. So we're excited to share that with everybody today. Before we get started, I just wanted to invite you all to introduce yourselves. So please take yourself off mute and let us know, as a way of introduction, your name and where you're coming from, and maybe something that you're grateful for today. Leela? Oh.
Hi, I'm Leela Hutchison from Sonoma, California, and I am indeed really grateful for answered prayer in my life.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Ashley?
Hello, my name is Ashley Phoenix Colon, and I am from the Sedona area. And I'm really grateful for gathering, connecting. That's something I feel extremely grateful for right now. Thank you.
Cerise?
I'm Cerise Rizich. I'm in the New York, New Jersey tri-state area. And I'm also grateful for community, especially my spiritual community. Thank you.
Thank you. Jillian?
Hello, my name is Jillian Fields, and I'm in Sedona, Arizona. And I have to be the third one, having for so many years not had spiritual community, to now have there's 5 or 6 of us that are on this call alone, just having spiritual family to speak and share time with. That's what I'm grateful for. Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. And I just want to add to that for sure, the community aspect of it, and looking forward to more and more community gatherings. But I'm feeling super grateful for the sun, the great central sun, and this incredible energy that's coming onto the planet that seems to be elevating everything, including all of the stuff that we need to see. And so, yeah, I'm super grateful for that. So I'm just going to switch to speaker view here. And thank you again, everybody, for joining us on this panel chat. So we're here to talk about empowerment. And when I was preparing for this, I realized that that empowerment is a process. Obviously, it's a journey, but it necessitates, this idea of empowerment necessitates that at some point we recognize ourselves as not empowered. And even preceding that, there is this stage where we're completely unconscious of the power dynamics in our lives. We're not really at the point of questioning that. So I would love to talk about first that journey of coming from unconsciousness into disempowerment, and then into beginning the steps into empowerment. So tell us a little bit about the early journey of that for you. Let's start with Jillian.
I feel like I'm a newbie in this empowerment process. I guess the easiest way to talk about previous unempowerment would be in my relationship to the men that I was married to or dating or such. And I always found myself hanging back and watching, and then trying to mold myself into their life instead of coming into a relationship knowing fully who I was and knowing what was negotiable and what was not, as far as my likes or dislikes or who I am or what those kind of things. So that's the most obvious to me, and I was aware of that for many years. But in the last 2 or so years, I've been aware of a different, larger definition of empowerment, as far as definition for my life and for the highest good and the global empowerment, I guess. So I feel very much a child in learning what all that is. But I saw some beautiful quotes that, because I looked up the definition of empowerment so that I could speak more fully and know more fully, but I don't know if I can find it quickly. Give me just 1 second. We do not need magic to transform our world. We carry all of the power we need inside ourselves already.
Yeah, so I guess that speaks to the fact that we are empowered, we're naturally empowered, but our belief is that we're disempowered. And then our life kind of shows that to us, right? Like that's how it always works. There's always like a television screen showing us exactly what we need, and it's our life.
Yeah. But I feel like in school too, like we're not empowered in school, right? We're just, under parents, under school systems, under employers, all of that, we're not necessarily made aware that we can be empowered, because that wouldn't work well with the systems that they had planned. But yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Ashley, how about you?
Thank you so much. For me, I feel that there's a forgetfulness when we forget that we do have power, and we do have all of the information within us. And I think that for me personally, there was a journey of almost an amnesia, where I felt a lot of empowerment as a child, and then something happened within my consciousness that experienced an amnesia, where I forgot my power and I gave my power to other. And then I find myself kind of on the tail end of that journey of starting to reclaim my empowerment. For me, it goes to, these were really, this is such a powerful topic, because empowerment means that you have the power to give. There's a remembering of power and your relationship with power. And that was the lens that I was kind of bringing to this, just from my own personal experience of giving my power away in many, many different circumstances. And now in the process of healing and reclaiming and owning that power, with grace, compassion, humility, and understanding that there's a real alchemy in the reclaiming of it. But it did take that process of amnesia for me personally to start to remember that the power, just like what Jillian was sharing, it's like there is a power that's within me if I'm willing to like honor it and remember. There's no magic, so to speak. The magic is within me that allows for that empowerment to exist.
Yeah, I think that's important to remember, that there's no place that you have to go. There's no certification. There's nobody who's going to give you that sense of empowerment. It's completely an inside job. So let's hear from Leela. Leela, what was your early experience of empowerment and disempowerment?
Thank you, Kay. I didn't feel I had any power at all as a child. I wasn't empowered at all for you could do anything, go anywhere, be anybody. There was never any of that. It was a lot of fear-based as a child. So I ended up becoming quite the people pleaser. And as this manifested as I got older, I had some very serious issues with codependency. So I didn't really understand, I guess, the word empowerment when I was younger, but I know how the unempowerment showed up. It was in a lot of chaos, disharmony, dysfunction, problems, couldn't find solutions for them. So I know that that was based on, as a child, the kind of belief programs that I bought into, because you would as a child. So I was acting out a lot of those things that did not bring success to me in my life as a child. So that's where it began. And then it manifested into relationships that were very codependent for me. And so the unspoken understanding was, if I help you, then I'm going to get my needs met, which never really happened. So that's when things became, I can have the power to change that. So, but I'm just going to answer that for now about what that unempowerment was for me as a child.
Yeah,
and growing up.
that's so painful. It brings to, because it's such a, like you said, it's so much chaos. It brings to mind like a ship on a rough sea with no rudder. It's just like, moving, and you until you find the rudder, it's going to be a rocky ride, right?
Well,
Let's
there's no
hear-
solutions.
Yeah. Cerise, how about you?
Thanks, Kay. I didn't realize that I wasn't sitting in my power until about 3 years ago. I was going through life, just going through life, going through the movement of life, not realizing until somewhat recently. So I also feel like I'm a newbie here, that I wasn't stepping into my authentic self. I wasn't being who I needed to be, that I wasn't stepping into my power. And so it's been a new awakening for me to have that realization. And it's also quite upsetting to look back at, all these years that I was just going through those motions and really not being the best version of myself that I can be, and not doing what I should be doing. Making a difference, in being in service, and, being my true authentic self. Caring so much about, what other people think of me. Am I saying the right things? Am I looking the right way? A lot of that had a major factor, in the last so many years of my life, that, in reflecting on, today's session, it was a little upsetting to me to reflect back and really see, the journey that I've been on, but also at the same time excited about the future, and excited about the fact that I have this awareness and I'm going to be able to do something about it now.
I love that you bring up the awareness piece, because I feel like they the awareness and the empowerment kind of walk hand in hand. And for my own story, I kind of resonated with what Ashley said, because as a child, I look back and I think I had so much courage and sense of self. And then slowly that sort of started being, I feel like in school, especially, that it started being conditioned out of me. And for a very long time, I I I started not living fully in my life, but becoming an observer of life, because I really wasn't sure how to navigate it. And so eventually, that led me into like a really I was quite shy, and like I said, more observing life than actually participating in it. But eventually I started asking questions. Like these questions would pop into my mind. And it's like, why do I have to pay for a parking spot? Like the simplest things. And I was like, nobody owns the street, right? Like, why do I have to pay for a parking spot? And just like simple things like that started me on this journey to discover what is the source of our power, was the source of my power, where did it go, and how do I get it back? So I feel like this is leading us into a really big question, which is basically, what is the definition of empowerment? And we're going to see, I have a feeling that it's so different for all of us, because look at our journey into empowerment has been so different. So let's see what comes up with that. Cerise?
Thanks, Kay. To me, empowerment means control over my life. So, how do I have that? Am I living my life purpose? Am I being authentic? Am I doing what I should be doing, what I want to be doing? Are other people influencing me? So to me, that's what empowerment means. It's about that control over my life and my life's purpose.
Mm. Ashley, how about you?
Okay, so my definition of empowerment is that I am aware of the life force energy within me and all around me, and I trust myself to wield that life force energy, that power, with discernment, grace, and compassion for myself and others.
Mm. Wow, that's beautiful. Leela, how about you? What's your definition?
I think at the end of the day, Kay, it's for me, it's success in all things. And so when we started this off, I said, what are you grateful for? You asked, and for answered prayers. So empowerment for me is the result of that is that when I feel this guidance, it always leads to harmony, solutions, and success. So that's how I know that I'm actively engaging the empowerment. And I mean, we can talk more about those things, and I'm sure you have other questions about that. But that's what I think it means. And it's been something that I've been following for quite some time, is that, do you remember when we were kids or younger, it used to be the still small voice? That's what I listen to, that inner guidance that has a voice that says, no, do this now. Don't do this here. Turn right, turn left, go straight, book this now, do this or not. So I follow that very closely. I can hear it very, very clearly. And so for me, the end result of that is just the success that brings in solutions, harmony, peace. More and more that's happening all the time. Just as long as I follow that, it just seems like everything falls into place.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're going to go to Jillian soon, but it's interesting to me that our collective notion of empowerment really has nothing to do with power over something or someone. It's really about, like Cerise said, coming into her own power and making decisions for her life that are right for her. And I do feel that there is some time in this journey, if you guys can look back, maybe you'll see this, or maybe it's just specific to me, is that part of the process of coming into empowerment, I had to go through like the blame stage. It was a really important part of this process because it helped me get out of disempowerment. It was a step. It wasn't the final step, but this urge to take back your power, you kind of early on assume that someone has taken it from you. And so you're sort of like railing and fighting, like I said, about, you know, who's charging me for these parking spots. I wanted to like go after them, you know? So I really want to, I just wanted to pop in and say that. So Jillian, does this resonate for you? And also, what is your definition of empowerment?
Yeah, I think I was the opposite. It was more like a dawning, like I could have had a V8. Oh, you mean there's something that's empowerment? I had no idea. So for me, the definition of empowerment in this moment is knowing deeply both what I am, who I am, knowing myself strongly and intimately in all manners, and which is, believe it or not, that was something that I didn't know even a couple years ago. You know, do I really know myself deeply? And I didn't, and I'm still learning. I'm still figuring that out. And so that's the first step in my definition. And the second is loving myself enough to honor and hold strong to those things that I feel are important to me and for me. And then having the wise love to be able to figure out whether what I need or want or am, how it affects or how it presents with others, and how can I, if there's any discrepancy or such, how can I remain true to myself and yet create a win-win to support and love another, whether it be society or individuals or such. So,
Yeah. So how did you begin that inner journey to find out who you were? What was that? What were the steps in that process? Or what are the ongoing steps, I should say?
yeah, well, for me, it began with having raised my children and having gone through a divorce and sitting in a home alone, realizing, oh, there's nobody's demanding anything of me. And then I'm like, it's awful quiet. Who, you know, it was really like, who is this? Because I didn't know. I didn't feel like I had any form. When I would look in a mirror, I'd almost not see any reflection. So that was significant. And so the first step was recognition that I have form and that I exist. I know that sounds scary, but I can tell you stories about meditations where I wasn't in the picture. And so, yeah, so that was significant. And then watching, the next step was then watching how other people defined me, to even begin to figure out whether, I mean, I needed input because I had nothing. I had no awareness of who I was. So looking at how other people would define me and then taking that inward and saying, do I like that? Does that feel true? Is that who I am? Is that who I want to be? And so then there was two questions. Is that who I am? And is that who I want to be? And so then it was, education, um, listening to a lot of, um, spiritual things and a lot of questions. Who is it? Byron Katie? Is that true? Right? Her work and such. So yeah. And then to read the books that said, "Oh, girl, you have always been empowered, and we are all sovereign." That is a whole nother level that I can't believe I'm here in the few years that I began to wake up. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you shared that so much, because really what you're talking about is like the ego death, which the ego is just filled with the opinions of other people about who and what you are, and that this process does require a stripping away of that. And it just so happened that you had a catalyst for dropping so powerfully into this journey where it happened all at once. I think for some of us over time, you're sort of like losing a portion of yourself and finding a portion of yourself. So, and it could be anything in between. Like I said, it's just such an individual process, but it can be scary, and it is scary to one day wake up and think that you actually have no power and no agency, and you don't know who you are. I mean, and with no guidebook as to how you're going to find that. And so really that's what we're doing here. So I'm so happy that you brought that up, and I appreciate it so much. I just want to pop in here with a little bit of a few of the definitions that I came up for empowerment. And of course, this is just for me, but the first one was acting from a place of informed neutrality. This to me, what is this, we might think of empowerment as this fierce energy, this bombast in a way, but it's actually, for me, it's extremely neutral. It means that I'm not coming through at any type of situation from a triggered place. I feel whole and I feel healed, and I can have this sort of neutrality about whatever it is that I'm facing. And then one of the other things, I've got a few here, choosing responsibility over blame. And that's turning the tables where, I came from that blame part, and now I need to take responsibility for whatever is occurring in my life. And then the third one is, and I would love for people to speak on this, but is embodying equal parts of humility, wisdom, and fearlessness. And the humility for me is recognizing that I have all of the genius that exists in the world within me, and none of it belongs to me. I have access to it, but it's not mine. It's coming from divine mind. So whatever my ideas are, whatever my gifts are, whatever I have to bring to the table, it's not actually me. It's just speaking through me. So I want to invite Ashley in on now to talk a little bit about how did you take those steps into empowerment?
I think I mean, no, actually, I know that I am still in the process. So I think that this human journey, there's never truly a moment of completion. I feel like we're always striving, so I'm still in the thick of it. And for me, a lot of times I just remind myself either through the Ho'oponopono prayer or just saying, I'm sorry, I forgot, because to me, there really is an awakening and a remembering of how I experience empowerment. And so I'll just say, like, I honor that I don't know, and I'm so sorry, I forgot. And then I just allow myself to kind of surrender into what's real and true in the present moment. And a lot of times I play around with, because empowerment to me, when I think of it visually. I think of it as like a candle being lit. That there's something lit up. And I imagine that I am that candle and that I am lit from within, and that light is shining out. And there's nothing I need to do. there's it's just tending to that light and allowing for that to do whatever it's going to do. I hope I answered your question, but that's how I feel about it, is that it's just that. And I think what you said about humility, it's honoring that it's not a perfect process, and it's not about perfection or completion. It's a consistent journey. Because I know you mentioned ego death, and it's tricky. Ego is very tricky. So it'll just find clever ways to continue to keep you in that amnesia. And so if you can get really humble about the experience and really share from an authentic space, and I've learned in my journey that is extremely helpful.
Yeah. Well, you know, that makes me think about what's coming to mind is that your empowerment, meaning the big your, it never intersects with the empowerment of another. It's not like, it's like they're two completely separate things. And I'm wondering if you have experience with that and how that kind of occurs in your life.
The like that dualistic conflict where
It's like, I think that we have this notion that one person's empowerment necessarily means another person's disempowerment. And that when two people are empowered, there's necessarily conflict, or they overlap. So there has to be this negotiation, you know, it's like a difficult process. But I find that they're completely separate, that there is no conflict when people are completely empowered. And I'm wondering if you've had that similar experience.
I would say yes, when those two individuals are operating from a place of active listening, from a place of neutrality, I would agree wholeheartedly. And it is a process, because I think there are experiences that we have in life where, and this is not a hierarchy place, like I don't mean it in any way, it's just our language can be a little binary sometimes and can divide us. And so I'm going to do my best to articulate. Sometimes there are individuals that are coming from different lenses. And so they're both empowered in the perspective that they're bringing. And when two truly empowered people can come together, then it creates a multitude of lenses that actually brings the wholeness into frame.
I love that.
And if there are individuals, even myself, that are on my healing journey, if I'm holding too tightly to my lens or my perspective, then there is going to be some sort of conflict. And we may have orchestrated, whoever I'm in communication with in that perspective, we may have created the perfect kind of grit or friction to kind of create a pearl from whatever it is. But I do think it does take a word that I was playing with in empowerment is self-awareness, is like having a self-awareness of, oh, wow, this is, I'm feeling some fire and some heat in this exchange. And what am I going to do with that fire? Because I could breathe it and I could burn that person down, or I could swallow it and hurt and harm myself, or I could find a way to work with the fire so it's warm and inviting to anyone involved.
Yeah. Oh, I
I think it's a process.
Yeah, it is. It is. I find that for myself, the more empowered I become, the less I need to say, the less I need to do. And I have the capacity to allow people a big space in which to have their own experience, and it doesn't really, elicit any kind of reaction from me. Cerise, I'm curious because you have had such a recent experience with this. How has this changed you as a person? How has it changed your life? How's the apple cart doing? I guess.
So it's changed my life in so many different ways, but also I just want to acknowledge that I'm still on my journey. So I'm still not fully in my empowerment. I'm, every day I feel like I'm making more and more steps. But it's changed my life in the conversations that I'm having with people. I'm talking more about my experiences. I'm sharing more about what I'm going through, which I never did before. I kept everything really close to the chest. And I have found that by doing that, it has also allowed other people to come forward and share their stories with me and find some safety, some camaraderie, some healing in having shared experiences. So that's one way that it's impacted me. Um, I think also um, I'm still on this journey of, you were talking about the parking and paying for things. It's for me, it's also trying to, journal more for myself and find the areas of, whether it's brainwashing or things that don't sit well with me and really reflect on, what those things are and how to look at them in a different way. And so it's still, it's a continuation of doing more and more work and more healing on myself so that I can step into more of that power. But it is work. It is, it is constant. It is, spending more time in meditation, more time, there were some comments about ego dissolution, humility. That's something that, I have been focusing on, from a healing perspective as well. But for me, it's the recognition of the fact that I have been for so long, in that analytical, mind focus and really, stepping into being more heart-centered and not even knowing what that was 3 years ago. So, realizing it, understanding it, and then, really focusing on heart opening, heart awareness, and heart centeredness, has been a massive change for me. And being able to see situations where, coming from that heart centered place, the different experiences I have now that I have that knowledge. So it's been almost like a miracle for me to see the changes now that my eyes are open. But again, like go back 3 years, 5 years, I didn't even know that this existed or what any of this was. So it's been a process.
So when you first started on that journey, because you had this full life, was it difficult for you to carve out the time to do that healing and the space? And the second question I wanted to ask you is, do you find yourself, going backward and forward at the same time?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a constant struggle. So finding the time, having 3 children, a husband, 2 dogs, working full time. Yes, finding time to do this work is challenging. And I didn't put me first, 3 years ago. And slowly over the last few years, I've been trying to take steps in, doing the work and carving that time out. it is hard to do because we all have the same 24 hours in a day. You know, time is relative, but still we're working within certain parameters. So it's a matter of waking up earlier, you know, taking that time to meditate and to journal, to work out. I mean, I used to find any excuse not to work out. You know, I didn't have time. There was something else that came up. I had to do something for the kids. But, you know, getting into that rhythm has really helped me and really has impacted it. It is hard. It is a journey. But it's worth it. So I'm definitely finding that it's, you know, I don't want to go back. I just want to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you do get to a certain point where there is no going back. Leela, I was wondering if I could ask you, how becoming empowered, and I love that you, Cerise, I love that you address the physical aspect of it. And I'm wondering for all of us, is there a physical aspect for you, Leela? And also, how did you take these steps into empowerment and how has it changed your life?
Thank you, Kay. So one of the things I realized well, everyone's speaking, I so appreciate all the feedback too, everybody's perspectives. I realized there's a personal empowerment and then there's a social empowerment in our interactions with other people. And I like what Ashley had to say too. There's this aspect of active listening. And I like what you had to say about neutrality and social empowerment when we're in dialogue. But on my personal journey, how that started to be empowered was, and we don't hear that much today, but it was like a victim consciousness, right? The blaming. So the blaming, I realized I started to do this step process of, if I'm blaming, then I don't feel like I have the power to change anything. And so those realizations started to come to me years ago about, if I'm never going to have solutions and I'm never going to become the success in my goals in my life if I consider myself a victim and that I'm powerless to change things. And I know that I can change, that I do have the power to change things. So I started to change around that belief system, look at it, why I thought I was a victim. Again, the people pleasing really set that all up to, I never had, you know, my expectations fulfilled because they weren't honest. It wasn't transparent. So that was the beginning of how taking control, I don't like the word control, but making better choices for myself and empowering, because I took myself out of the victim mode and realized, oh my gosh, I'm doing this to myself. Every single interaction. Then we take it to the other side with the social, and realizing that active listening actually puts you in, because you're present in your heart, takes you into a neutrality zone, just like you were speaking of, that you just allow the other person to be empowered the way they are. It may work, it may not. You may not be able to go forward in business or some kind of collaboration. Maybe it's two different views, but it doesn't have to be right or wrong. It can be just a neutral place. So I see that in a lot of my relationships or business deals that I've done in my life, that I can just sit there, I can listen, and I don't have to take a stance and judge it is right or wrong, or do I believe it or not. So it's the active heart listening, going like, they're allowed to be empowered the way they need to be as well. And I will say this, the physicality, I like that what you said, Cerise, is about what really helped strengthen and reinforce the empowerment for me was to really get in your physical body. Because if you feel weak in the physical body, you're not, it's just almost some kind of a psychological conditioning. You're just not going to feel strong, that you're empowered. But if you know you're out there, you're hiking, or you're going to the gym, or you lift weights, or you just ran 3 miles or 5 miles or whatever it is the goals are, and you start to feel that strength in your body, I think that's such a great reinforcement to say that we can do anything. It's just, it's just that beautiful empowerment. Like, we're here to create those miracles. There's no doubt about it. We have it. We have all of that. So that's a good way to do it. I love the physicality. I do a lot of hiking, and I'm very physical, so it keeps me going like, yeah, if I can do that, then I could do this and I could do that and all these different goals.
Yeah.
Did that answer all that?
Absolutely. And I think like, you know, again, we're starting to see how all of these things are interconnected and really like one feeds the other, one leads into the other, one supports the other. And, you know, this idea, this huge topic of embodiment, I feel like the empowerment really cannot take place without the embodiment, because if we're not in the physical vessel, then we're somehow splintered. We're not fully in the power center. Ashley, can you address that? What is your physical experience?
Oh, I 100% agree. I feel like I can't recall which spiritual teacher it was. It might have been Matt Kahn. But he was talking about, you hear a lot about how, the soul is having a human experience, and that perspective. And he was like, what if it's actually that the body is on a spiritual awakening, and that our embodiment allows for that vehicle of ascension to exist? And it's something that I've been exploring a lot in my empowerment is flipping the script of some of the things that we've been taught. One of the things recently that impacted me significantly was actually a conversation that you and I had, Kay, about the sun and how the sun, it shines its light regardless of all circumstances, regardless if people worship it or if they're burned by it or if it warms them, or, kitty cats that sunbathe in it. It's like that sun is going to shine regardless of all circumstances. And that's really impacted this exploration of flipping the script and coming back to embodiment. Energy moves through breath, sound, and movement. And all of those things are within the body. It is the vehicle. That's how energy moves. That's the most impactful way. And, and that can be applied to breath. I think of it as a potential neutrality, because you're getting into a responsive state versus reactive. Sound means that you're sharing your stories, you're communicating with the world what your lens and your perspective is. And movement, some people call it walking the way, some people call it, traversing the mountain. Sometimes we talk about these different ways of exploring the journey of humanity. And so to me, I think all of that applies in this concept about embodiment.
Yeah, I love so much of that. And what's calling to mind a lot of different things. One of the things that I have been hearing lately is that the sun is actually not sending us energy. It is actually reflecting energy that we possess and shine toward it, which, talk about flipping the script. But I wonder if also empowerment is similar in that there is no power in the world unless we are reflecting it back. And I'm just throwing that out there because it's coming to the top of my mind. But yeah, so one of the things that some of us here can address is like the aging, empowerment in the aging body, because a lot of times we're led to believe that as the body ages, it loses its power. And I find that that's actually not true. And one of the things that I can't remember who mentioned, it might have been you, Ashley, that, or maybe it was Cerise, that, we think of empowerment as being strong and almost like invulnerable, when actually it's the opposite. It's like becoming completely soft and open to life, and it's more life. Jillian, can you speak to the physical aspect and a little bit from your perspective?
I've been out of my body most of my life. I always felt connected, even as a child at the age of 3. I was connected to the divine. But until that awakening that I wasn't embodied and that I or empowered, um, I had been so spiritually minded, I was no earthly good. I really had no presence on the earth that I was aware of. Um, and so this awareness that I had not been aware of myself and the lack of empowerment absolutely had to mean I had to start being grounded. You know, what does it mean to actually even stay in my body, and to remember things and to feel the ground and so what I loved about that whole idea of being embodied is that you can actually make a difference spiritually because we are grounded here in this plane, right? And so so being able to absorb light and yet be grounded is just I just love that knowledge of that. And so yeah, this year I've started promising myself to work out and to really pay attention to my physicality and my food and my movement. I haven't started fully with the breath part of it yet, but yeah, I haven't been in body until recently, and so I'm learning.
Yeah, I want to thank you so much for sharing that as well, because you know we come in on a spectrum, and there's many reasons why we don't feel empowered, and there's many reasons why we're not embodied, and all of those are legitimate. We have legitimate reasons for not wanting to be in the body, but coming back into it definitely is part of the empowerment process. I want to close out today by just asking each of you to share where your embodiment is taking you now. Where do we go once we have this power within? Let's start with Cerise.
So for me, where I'm going from here is, to continue on this path, to continue, working on myself, continue to, share stories, stand up for others, live my life's purpose, be my own person. And a big one for me is to realize that it's okay if people don't like me anymore because of it. And that's a huge one. I think I care too much in the past, and you're gonna lose some people on this journey of empowerment, and that's okay.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I know that's true for many of us, that's been a struggle, especially women. Leela, how about you?
I have to agree. It's very important. Embodiment now is to be myself, really, to really come in and no matter what, to be myself and to be genuine, authentic. And I also see with that process is I really have this, I really want to help others be embodied as well. I want them to be empowered. So that's definitely part of my path, and how that shows up in lots of ways. Just too many to say, but there's just lots of processes. But that's what brings me a lot of passion in this empowerment process, is that I really want to help others remember who they are, their God self, and that they can step into their empowerment. And I just want to be able to reflect that back to them.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Jillian, how about you? Where are you taking your embodiment? in
So
empower?
it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of interesting. There was, after I started feeling who I am and what I want to do, my heart has always been, to love the divine and to love humanity and help where I can. Um, but when I started to go, oh, I'm empowered, then I was all warrior like let's go, right? But what I realized recently, Ashley mentioned how tricky the ego can be and how it can sneak in. And I realized just this week actually that warrior lets go, and you gotta work hard to get to the place where you can make a difference and be the power that you want to help to change the world. And then it was like, oh, that's perfectionism. And I will never get to where that ego of perfection wants me to be, and it's actually disempowering me. And so part of my new morning mantras is I am as, the divine and my higher self designed and desire me to be. And I do, and I listen, and I receive all the guidance to continue to be more and more of what that design is, but to be happy and content with me where I am, knowing that that's in divine order, and not have this perfection slave driver. You'll never get there. You're not doing good enough. You got to be powerful. Put that to rest.
Yeah.
And like Ashley had said too, just be the candle, let your light flame go, and it will do its work. And as I feel guided, and as I'm being told to take the next step, I do. And that's all I need to do.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody here who can't relate to the warrior stage. I feel like it's just part of it. Ashley, how about you? Where are you taking your empowerment?
I know this is going to sound very interesting, but I really like to operate from I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. And from that, I feel a deep desire for joy, really calling in joy in the journey, joy in the process. And I really felt all of the shares today. And I love that you mentioned happiness and contentment, Jillian, in your response, because that's what I feel. And I just have a deep desire to continue to swim in the ocean of consciousness. Just continue to swim and experience and see where that takes me. So yeah.
It's beautiful. Thank you. For myself, I think that, and Jillian alluded to this, is I'm striving to be both more and less of myself at the same time. And that seems like a paradox, but where I find that it's landing me is ease, which I think is what you're talking about, Ashley, because it's like ease is the foundation of joy. Once you realize that, all the work is done and you can become open to joy, which I firmly believe is the state that we were meant to be in at all times. Joy, connection, love, guidance, safe. I mean, not even safety, it's beyond safety now, so I just want to thank you all so much for showing up this evening and for sharing your personal paths and your wisdom. And I want to thank everybody out in Facebook land for joining us. And I want to let you know that we'll be back next month. We'll be back last month. No, we'll be back next month. And we're going to be talking about prayer. And I love the way that this is kind of unfolded, because prayer is different from empowered prayer. Empowered prayer is a whole thing. And I can't wait to get into that with all of you. So for now, I'll just say goodbye for all of us to all of you, wishing you all the best this evening and a blessed tomorrow. Bye, everybody.